Hi everyone, Tracy here. Today I'm going to show you how I made this teeny tiny purse mini album. A few of you have asked me if I could make a tutorial on how I did this, and with one of my challenges this year, it's if you ask for a tutorial on something, I'll try and get it out to you. So while it's still fresh in my mind, I thought I would make one today. So let me show you exactly what this is. I won't go into detail like I did before, but it's just one of these little containers, plastic containers that you got your paper clips in. One of these, that's what the outside holder is made out of, and then these are just made out of chipboard. So the first thing you have to do is pick your papers, and because everything is so tiny, you can just use your scraps, and that's what I did my first one with, just my scraps. But because I have so much paper, it's not even funny. I went through some of my paper and I forgot I even bought a lot of this stuff. And I love this, it's black currant. I love this line, so I thought, you know what, I might as well cut into it. Let's get started. So the first thing you do is you have to cut your chipboard, bookboard, cereal box, whatever you're using, you have to cut them into the size of the album. And I am a bookkeeper, so I have a lot of these, the backs of the invoices. So this is what I'm using for this. You don't want a really, really thick chipboard because it has to fit in that little container. And you cut these at 2.5 by 1 7/8. And I got 4. It depends on how many embellishments in that. You might be able to fit 5 in there, but if you put like some flowers and stuff like that that have a little bit of dimension to it, it's going to be too tight in the container. So that's the first thing you do. You cut these at 2.5 by 1 7/8. And because this is such a thin chipboard, you can use your X-Acto knife, or like I did, I just used my my cutter here with the blade, and it cuts it just fine. So the next thing you want to do is put adhesive on your chipboard, whatever type of adhesive you prefer to use when you're making your mini albums. Me, I like to use the Xyron, and this is going to be, I want this for the front. I might even put some of these in the middle. And because I have 3 girls, and most of my friends have girls, so whoever gets this, it's going to be mostly pinks and blacks. And you just adhere it down. Like I said, this already has the sticky stuff on it. So if you're going to use liquid adhesive, you do it a little bit different. So you stick it down and then you cut around the edges, just like you would do with, like I said, any of your other mini books or anything you're going to be making. You cut all the way around. Sand your edges, and I like to ink my edges as well. So you've seen me do this in all my other videos where I'm showing you some how to cover your mini album, so you don't have to watch me do this part. So I will cover all my pages, and I'll be right back. Okay, now once you have all your paper adhered, then you take a sanding block and you sand your edges, and you want to go this way. You want to go with the paper. You don't want to go backwards because you'll lift the paper off the edge. So you want to go forward always. Then when you're all done that, I like to ink the edges. And I usually use distressing ink, but I'm using black StazOn because this has a lot of foiling on it, and I wasn't sure how the StazOn, or sorry, how the distressing ink would stay on there, if it would, but the StazOn will stay with the, will stick to the foil. And I also did the very edges because I don't like to see the raw edges of the chipboard. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to put a hole in there for all your eyelets to fit in. I have this machine, the Crocodile, or this tool, but if you don't have that, you can use these the hole punches, you know, to make the holes in your projects for your eyelets. But this is such a nice and easy machine to use. I can go through all 4 of these layers at once. I just want to make sure, because once you punch the hole, you can't fill it in again. And look, it punched through every single one of those layers. Isn't that neat? Now, what you want to do is you want to put Well, you want to put all your pages in order. If there's any of your pattern paper that should go a certain way, make sure it's in the right way. Because when you want to put your brads in, you kind of want them all, the first page to have the flat part. And you know what? I haven't really read the instructions on this, so I don't know how to make, to flatten your eyelets on this thing. So I do it the old-fashioned way. I pound the heck out of it with a hammer. So I'm going to turn the machine off because you really don't want to hear this. Now that I have my eyelets in, you're ready to decorate your pages. There, that one goes that way. And like I said, because they're so tiny and they have to fit in the container, you don't want anything too bulky. So border punches, flat flowers, stickers, they'd work great on here. So I'm going to embellish my pages now. And now that I'm finished with adding all the embellishments on the papers, I attached it with the ribbon, and then I put some fibers on the edges. Now the next thing we have to do is cover our container. Now to cover the container, I'm going to use this pink and black paper because this is my favorite out of all the paper I chose. And I'm going to cut off the one flap. I don't know if you can see that, but this flap here, I'm just going to remove one of those end ones because the fibers and the ribbon is going to be poking out. So I'm just going to leave this paper on because we're going to be covering the whole thing and you're not going to be able to see that. So I tried to take it off. It's really hard. So I'll just leave that on. And what you do is you literally wrap this paper around your container. And because this is really thick, it's pretty thick cardstock, and so was the one I did yesterday, I am going to make little marks in it so I can score it, so it'll be easier to fold. Okay, so what I did was I cut the length of the paper, and then every time I came to a corner, I would make a mark and then score it, and then put it across, make a mark, score it. And like I said, you might not have to score it if your paper is skinny, like thinner, but this paper is really thick. It's like a cardstock, so it was easier to score it. And then what I did was I took these red tape, because this is really sticky. With the thick tape, I went all the way around the top and all the way around the bottom. And then with the skinny tape, I went down the edges. And then I'm also, once I wrap this, I'm also going to put a piece of tape on the last piece so it could stick itself to the paper. So I wrapped the paper around, and then this is the last little flap, and as you can see, I put it right at the very edge. And you just peel it off and then press it down. And I'm not going to worry about that little seam. It's not a big deal. This paper is so busy, you're not going to even notice it. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to punch a little hole in there. I'm using this really skinny, tiny hole punch. I'm not even sure the size of it. And I just put it in there. Make sure that's the flap I cut off yet. And just put a hole. And this is for your, just wait, you gotta really give it a good punch. Got to use two hands and put it between your legs in order to put a hole through it. So there we have our little hole. And for the other one, I used one of those ball chains, but I don't have any left. Actually, that one came from my Bind It All. You know, they put a little chain on there for a stopper and stuff like that. So I'm going to use one of these little swivel clasps. So I have to open this little end up here and then put it through the hole. Hey, somebody stole my other pliers. Well, let's see if we can open it with just, there we go, that was easy enough. Put it in there. But you could probably put a brad or eyelet in there too. You could probably put, there we go. I'm going to hang something from there. I want to show you how little amount of paper I used for this. This is a 12 by 12 sheet. I just used this little bit. Same with that. Same with the third piece and the fourth piece, because I also use this piece for the outside, so I used a little bit more, but you don't use hardly any paper at all. And you might be thinking this was a waste of a 12 by 12 sheet, because this is how I think. I would think this is a waste. But you know what? My paper is not being used, so I figured even if I use little pieces out of it, it's not getting wasted. At least I'm using it. So here's the album we made today. Here's a little clasp, and I put a little charm on here that says love. And then you open it up. You take out your album, and I keep grabbing onto this thing instead of just the ribbons. You got your family photos. And I just put a little bit of sparkle on the corners because this paper is so busy. Once you put your pictures on here, you're not going to see too much of the paper anyway. And I put an all black sheet in here just in case whoever I give it to has a boy. I don't think the boy would want to be put on a girly pink, even though this whole thing is pretty girly. And the next page, I just cut some of the black paper out and used my my quarter rounder, whatever this punch is called, to make the scallop edges. And then the back, my stamp there. So there you have it. You ask and I shall deliver. I hope you enjoy making one of these. Thanks for joining me. Bye now.